Keep yourself in the loop of everything football. Listen to Alex and Jeremiah on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello there, I'm Jeremiah.
I am Alex, always and forever here.
Dedicated to college and NFL football. The latest football news on and off the field. NFL draft trade rumors. We've got you covered from the NFL, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything else in between. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we talk the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football. From the latest signings to just breakout stars and all of the news in between. As always, I'm Alex.
And as always, I'm Jeremiah. And we are recording
in a brand new studio.
Yeah, we're recording our first show in a brand new studio. And this new office that we moved into is pretty fat.
Yeah, apologies, because now we're sitting next to each other as opposed to across from each other. So some of these microphones, like you can hear the air conditioning as you pause. And you'll hear me a little bit on
air conditioning. It is freaking cold outside.
the heater.
The heater, okay.
See, as you can hear me now on both of the microphones.
And then we also got some couple of TVs up here. And,
we got trying to distract me.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be huge during the bowl season.
Yes, especially if we were here like when we used to come in around 11.
Yeah.
We would like to say tomorrow, right? Or today, we'd have the bowl game on.
Yeah, we had the bowl game on.
We'd be watching in front of us.
Which we'll get into a little bit later.
I'd be sitting here talking and be like, well, that was a great
run.
Yeah,
we'll have on the Miami Beach Bowl on.
Yeah, we would have it on. I'd be sitting here and be like, oh, that was a great run. You'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, Panthers, Redskins.
Oh, I'm telling you who's going to love this, though, is Ben.
Ben does love it.
He is going to love it during the Starker show.
He literally mentioned that earlier. He said,
I know he is.
He's going to be watching Champions
And you know what this would have been really cool to have, too, was during baseball season.
For some of those early
a lot of the matinee games, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Some of those that are on at noon over here or noon over there, and like 9 o'clock here. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if only if you would have came here on Sundays, we'll have on just strictly NFL on.
Oh, yeah, on both TVs. Exactly. I would have like, if the Niners and Steelers were both on, each TV would be designated. I'm on the right side, so I'd have the right side and you're the left side.
Exactly.
We'd make it work.
Yeah, but the thing is, I wouldn't want to watch the Niners.
Nobody wants to anyways.
No.
All right, well, speaking of those two teams, they played this weekend, which means a lot of teams played this weekend, and we're actually going to get into all of the scores, as always, in which we do every Monday following the NFL weekend, Week 15 this week. We're going to talk some college football as well, and we're going to preview tonight's Monday Night Football game, and talk some coaches that are unemployed.
Yeah, there's a couple, or at least one.
Yeah, at least one that's new. But we're going to start right now with the scores from the week that was of Week 15. Now, you and I got the Monday night game, and then you guys talked Thursday night.
We talked Thursday night on Thursday. We actually didn't have a show on Friday.
Yes, because there's a lot of movement.
Yeah, so we didn't get a chance to talk about the Thursday night game.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do that.
We can make a mention of it real quick.
We can talk about it on this show. And there was a game on Saturday.
Yes, that was my next. Yeah. Leading to my next sentence, Saturday game, and then of course the weekend that was on Sunday specifically. So let's real quick. We'll just the Thursday game. Nothing to really speak of. Seahawks over the Rams, 24-3. Russell Wilson, 229-3. Tyler Lockett, 130 of those and a touchdown. So big win there for the Seahawks.
Yeah, and the Seahawks clinched the NFC West.
Yeah,
with that win.
Big surprise. All right, moving on to Saturday. We had the Dolphins playing the Jets, and this is the first game since Ryan Tannehill did get hurt and hurt his MCL there and his knee. And Matt Moore came in and did not miss a beat, 12 for 18, 236 yards, 4 touchdowns.
And he put the team on his back.
He did in a 34-13 win over the Jets. They moved to 9-5 on the year. The Jets dropped to 4-10, a game that they just did nothing for Bryce Petty. Not only did they do nothing for Bryce Petty, they didn't even block for Bryce Petty.
No, they did not. They did not do anything.
I don't know if you saw this play, but it's a play in which the two best defensive linemen,
they came from both. They came unblocked.
Yeah, they came unblocked. It's like nobody touched him. Cameron Wake and Sue met at the quarterback. One hit kind of hip high, one hit like more rib high, and just sandwiched the dude. And he was out the rest of the game.
Yeah, you gotta feel bad wwhoever is quarterbacking the Jets.
Yeah, because they don't got much opportunity.
If the Jets decide to bring in another quarterback, which I think they have
Tony Romo.
If they happen to bring in someone else, like you said, Tony Romo, I would be scared to come to New York because of that offensive line,
especially Romo.
Exactly. Romo will probably like die with his offensive line.
Don't you put that evil on him?
I don't want to put that evil on him, but I'm just saying, like I'm exaggerating here. I'm exaggerating.
Stop looking at the TVs.
No.
You watching that Forever Us K Jewelers commercial? All right. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to the Sunday games. So moving on, we had quite a few cold games, as a matter of fact, and the coldest of the day was between the heated rivals, like I did that, Packers and the Bears, a game in which the Packers win 30-27 on a late big pass to Jordy Nelson that set up the game-winning field goal as time expired.
I think it was like a 61-yard reception.
It was huge.
Yeah.
And not to be outdone, Matt Barkley, 30 for 43, 362 and 2. He kept him in this game the entire time. A team that's now 3-11. The Packers moved 8-6. They lost by 3 points to a team that has had their number obviously the last few years because they're just that much better than them. But Matt Barkley balled out. Unfortunately, Ty Montgomery balled out harder, and he's on my fantasy team, 162 and 2. You know, I had him playing in my receiver slot.
Yes,
I had Devontae Freeman, who we'll get into in a minute, and I had DeMarco Murray.
Man, you probably won.
Well, I won one league. I'm going to the championship. Excuse me, and I'm losing right now in the game to go to the championship by 6 points. But I got Greg Olsen tonight.
All right, you're good.
But
yeah, getting back to this game here, two things speak out to me. One, the Green Bay Packers finally have a running back in Ty Montgomery because
hopefully,
I think they have
potentially.
One. I think they have one in there. At least they have a placeholder for now.
Yes,
because Eddie Lacy, his contract does expire, and James Starks just couldn't not. He was a backup for a reason, and they got Christian Michael there, but you can't really trust Christian Michael.
He's been around a while.
He's been kind of like a journeyman in a short amount of time. But I do think Ty Montgomery, he fits what they want to do. They can put him in a variety of packages. They can use him out of the backfield to
catch the ball,
be involved in that the passing game because he is a receiver. He did play running back in college, so it's not
both in college.
Exactly. So it's not really that hard of a transition for him. But he's probably going to get his number changed next year. And then Matt Barkley, though. Like, I think maybe Chicago I think they might have a placeholder for now at quarterback, Matt Barkley. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback, but, for the past couple games, he's played really reasonable. He's played really well. And, if the Bears happen to get a quarterback like Tony Romo.
Just anytime you mention Tony Romo.
It's like Tony Romo. If the Bears can't get Tony Romo, then, I think they can use Matt Barkley as a placeholder. And, I'm sorry, I'm distracted by Odell Beckham doing the Beat It dance.
Beat It, yeah.
Yeah, but if the Bears happen to get Tony Romo, Matt Barkley is a suitable backup.
Yeah, he is. I like Barkley. I think he's shown a lot so far this year. He's not playing scrub opponents. I mean, he played the Niners, but he played that in the Snow Bowl. So you have to really look at it as something that can be worked on. All right, moving on. We had the Jaguars losing to the Texans 21-20 in a game in which Mr. Brock Osweiler was benched in favor of backup from Pitt, Tom Savage. He went 23 for 36, 260, and he kind of helped lead him to a win. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from here because they are technically in the playoffs as right now. Whether or not they go with Savage. DeAndre Hopkins had a pretty good day that somebody could find him, 8 for 87. And Lamar Miller, 22 carries, 63 yards in the score.
And this was the last game for Gus Bradley coaching the Jaguars because he got fired not even like an hour after this game.
And then he had to sit on the flight the whole way back with
that.
Believe me, I'd rather have the flight, but do it after the flight. Like.
Exactly. Do it after the flight.
And what's weird to me is this could have happened a whole lot earlier. But with 2 games left, I don't really understand it because if you say you're like trying to get a head start on coach looking, right? You're not going to fire your coach anyway, so do that. If it's for college guys, there's not that many notable ones right now, unless you're looking at Les Miles, and I don't know how that's going to go for you. And then if you're looking at NFL ones, say McDaniels or other coaches, coordinators, all that kind of deal, they're probably, if they're significant enough to warrant an opportunity at a job, they're probably with a winning team right now, and you can't talk to them. McDaniel's probably going to have a first-round bye. You can talk to him then maybe, but you could have done that when the season ended anyway.
I feel like this should have happened after the
Jaguars.
No, it should have happened at week 8, but after the Jaguars lost to the Tennessee Titans on Thursday Night Football, because that way you got 10 days to prepare for the next week. I was talking about this. I tweeted about the Jacksonville Jaguars team all the way in October. When I watched the game against the Raiders, I was like, "Wow, this team cannot win another game. Like they're just flat out terrible."
Yeah, well, they're sitting at 2-12 now. The Texans moved 8-6, and again, they are still in the playoff chase. Moving on, just had some quick ones. The Browns lose to the Bills, 33-13 in favor of the Bills. They moved to 7-7. The Browns still winless, 0-14. They have the Chargers this week and the Steelers the next week. I don't know if they're going to be able to win a game this year. I prefer them to win this week if they're going to win one. So, moving on, we had the Ravens defeating the Eagles in a really close one, 27-26, in a game in which the Eagles kind of realized, we're 5-8 right now, and we just tied the game up in a sense. Kicked the extra point to be 27-27. Let's go for it. So I'm a little bummed because I wanted to really the Steelers to get that 2-game lead because we'll talk about why in a minute. But unfortunately, the Ravens won. They moved 8-6 on the year, playing good football down the stretch, and they are the first team out of the playoffs right now for the AFC. Moving on, we have the Titans taking over and beating the Chiefs 19-17. Marcus Mariota 241 in a pick, but DeMarco Murray 89 yards on the ground. Not a lot of yards in favor of Derrick Henry, but he had 2 scores. Rashard Matthews 4 receptions for 105 of Mariota's passing yardage, and they find a way to beat the Chiefs, who now drop out of that number 2 spot, but into the wild card spot.
Yes,
it's gonna be tough. Exactly. It's gonna be tough sledding to get into the playoffs because I feel like whatever team doesn't win the AFC West and whatever team doesn't win the AFC North potentially are going to be the wild card teams.
Yeah, and that's how it's going to,
that's how it is.
That's how it's going to play out for the last 2 weeks of the season. I still think the Raiders are going to win that division.
Yes, I do too, because we'll get into it. But they now have sole possession of first place again, and number 2 seed, and we'll get into it. I don't want to
and then what about the Tennessee Titans though, man? What a year that team has had. They got some defense finally. Mm-hmm. Mariota, looked like he got a little bit of help. Derrick Henry had a monster day. We didn't even mention him. He had 2 touchdowns.
I mentioned him.
Okay, a little bit. You didn't mention the 2 touchdowns though.
I did mention the yards. I did mention the 2 touchdowns. I said he didn't have as many yards, but he had 2 scores.
Okay, he did have 2 touchdowns.
Yes.
He's been such a big complimentary back to DeMarco Murray there. Rashard Matthews, had over 100 yards yesterday, and I thought the weak link of the offense was the receivers, but they've been coming on late, helping out Marcus Mariota. The offensive line, played a lot better too. And I personally, I think the Tennessee Titans are the team that's more suitable to win the AFC South.
I was going to say the same thing. I think too after this weekend. With Savage,
exactly. So because the Texans, they're tough for me to see as a playoff team. They won't go far. I can see the Tennessee Titans go. I can see them make a pretty deep playoff run. I can.
I can dig you on that. I'll give you
the Colts. The Colts. I can't see them making a deep playoff run at all.
No, not with their team.
No.
Well, and we'll get to them in a minute. But we'll move on. The Lions actually lose big to the Giants, 17-6. Giants moved to 10-4 on the year and stay very much in the playoff conversation. The Lions still though hold that NFC North lead right now at 9-5, but a big loss for them. Golden Tate, 122 yards for him, but no scores. The go-ahead score, or not go-ahead score, but a late score to put it up to 17 from 10-6, but went to Odell Beckham Jr. Nice one-handed catch, which you talked about him doing the beat it.
He had another highlight.
Yeah, it's like a highlight every few weeks for him. And then you mentioned the Colts. The Colts actually won big, 34-6 over the Vikings. Both teams now 7-7. The return of Adrian Peterson went just like I thought it would.
Yeah, just like I thought it would.
Exactly how he was going before he got hurt. 6 for 22 yards, an average of 3.7 yards per carry, and in old school Peterson form, a fumble and a loss. So, not a big day for him. On the other hand, a big day for Andrew Luck. 21 for 28, literally 7 incompletions, 250 yards, 2 scores for him. Frank Gore, 101 yards. It'll annoy some fantasy players out there because he did have 101 yards, but they gave the touchdowns to Mr. Robert Turbin, who has 7 for 32 and 2 scores. Philip Dorsett, leading receiver, 1 for 50, as well as Eric Swoop, 3 for 50.
Man, what about Frank Gore, though? The inconvenience just doesn't age.
He doesn't age, and that's a great nickname because people forget about him, but he's still around and he's still as real as ever. That's literally what the inconvenient truth is.
Frank Gore's been one of the most underrated players in this
especially
era.
with what he went through when he came into the NFL after getting hurt so bad.
Yeah,
I give it to him.
He's been one of the most underrated players, most underappreciated as well.
Yes, sir. I agree with you on that one.
And I'm not saying that because he's a former Niner.
No,
I
agree with you. Yeah. All right, moving on to one of the last games of the morning. We had the Steelers taking on the Bengals, and the Steelers overcome a 9-20 halftime deficit on the back of 6 Chris Boswell field goals.
Yeah, and I think that was a franchise record.
It was indeed, sir. Back-to-back games with franchise records. Le'Veon had a total yards from scrimmage record last week. Chris Boswell has a total field goal record this week. 18 points for him to be responsible for. And they come back with a late touchdown from Ben to our little receiver, Eli Rogers.
Yeah,
and they win this one 24-20.
Yeah, and it looks like the Steelers are poised to make a huge playoff run.
Yeah, now they have that number 3 seed.
To me, I think they're the team that's going to win the AFC South.
North.
North. Oh my gosh,
it's okay.
AFC North.
We were just talking about Colts, so I'll give you a break.
So, I think they're the perfect team to represent that division because to me, I think they got the best quarterback in that division. They probably got the best running back in all football, in my opinion. Probably the best receiver in the league. They just have a top 3 offense. And, the defense, they've been playing a little bit better. It's not as what it comes to. It's getting a little better.
What I feel like people who aren't giving enough credit to is Artie Burns, who leads the team in picks.
Yeah.
And Sean Davis, our second-round pick, people always give Sean Davis, the second-round pick of the Steelers, who is close up there and but high on the team with tackles. He's running around like a nice hybrid of Troy Polamalu in terms of vision. I'm not saying he's anything like him, but Ryan Clark in that downhill style with the way he blitzes. He reminds me a lot about Ryan Clark, except he plays strong safety. He's got 1 pick a couple weeks ago. He's had a couple potentially other opportunities for some. Our rookies they're really playing well.
Yeah,
so
far, they're going to get better too.
And Javon Hargrave, before he got hurt a couple weeks ago with a concussion, or the 3rd round pick, he was a D tackle. He was playing great too. And I really think the defense is getting better. It's definitely next man up mentality. Yesterday they lose Stephon Tuitt really early in the game. He hurt his knee. I don't know what the significance so far right now that is with that injury. And Cameron Hayward's already out for the year. And then Ricardo Matthews went down, so they were left with 3 active linemen. They had 2 D tackles and LT Walton, and then Ricardo Matthews came back in, and they held them to fewer yards they did from earlier in the game. So definitely, like you said, they make great adjustments, and they're getting better. They really are.
Yeah, and I do think for me in the AFC, I think they're the team that can compete with New England.
Yeah. I as a Steeler fan, believe me, I've been on the other end of a lot of Patriots wins over the Steelers, but it's a potential thing. All right, let's finish off with the last morning game, and that's the Saints over the Cardinals, 48-41. Drew Brees, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns. Brandon Cooks, 186 of those receiving and 2 touchdowns. Mark Ingram did get 78 yards on the ground. He did have a little bit of a blow-up, though. They haven't announced exactly what that is, but he was yelling a little bit back and forth with his coach, and we'll be interested to see what that actually goes on. Saints, though, win this one. They move to 6-8. Cardinals drop to 5-8-1 on the year. Now let's move to the afternoon games. We had the Falcons manhandling. I'm sorry, Jeremiah.
Don't worry.
41-13.
Don't worry. We're going for that number 2 pick.
Yes, you are. Matt Ryan, 286-2 on the day. Devontae Freeman, 20 carries, 139 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and then a receiver that I never heard of.
You never heard of Aldrick Robertson before?
Aldrick Robertson.
Yeah, Aldrick Robertson.
1-1-1.
He's not bad. 4 for 111. Yeah, he's not bad.
I know. I was just kidding. I'm just kidding because he's not a known player. But
hey, tell that Taylor Gabriel a couple weeks ago.
Exactly.
Who had another touchdown?
Exactly. Taylor Gabriel looks like he's going to be a big part of this offense going to the playoffs.
Whom was waived by none other than the winless Browns.
Exactly. Well, it's.
If you can't use them right, let them go.
You know what? Exactly. That kind of speaks to
the Browns.
It kind of speaks to the Browns a little bit. It speaks on the organizational too.
Yeah, the organization. That's the Browns right there. All right, let's finish off these afternoon games with the last 2 of the day. We had the Patriots over the Broncos, as everyone suspected. It's not Tom Brady, Peyton Manning anymore. It's Tom Brady, Trevor Siemian. 16-3 in favor of the Patriots. Moved to 12-2 on the year. Broncos 8-6. Now Tom Brady, if there's any day to beat the Patriots, it was yesterday. Tom Brady 188 on the day, no touchdowns, no picks. Not a great day, but Deion Lewis 18 for 95 yards on the ground. LeGarrette Blount had a touchdown on 17 carries for 31 yards and became the franchise leader in a single season for rushing touchdowns for the Patriots. Surprises me because they had the likes of Kevin Falk and Corey Dillon at times, and a lot of good young running backs and veteran running backs in their years. And Surprises me that it took him this long to get, or at least that he is the one to get it at 15. So a little surprising. Trevor Siemian, on the other hand, threw the ball 40 times, completed 25 of them for 282, only a pick though, and a bad rushing day for them. They still can't run the ball. 17 carries as a team for 58 yards, and it just shows you this defense is as good as it can be. But that being said, if they're on the field
you
all
need to
day,
score points.
Exactly. So, and they did not do that, only putting up 3. And the last of the afternoon games, we had the Raiders coming back late to defeat the Chargers 19-16. Derek Carr, 213 yards passing and a touchdown, a nice one to Michael Crabtree, and the best challenge description I've heard all season. They challenged it. I don't think it was Hockley. Hockley did another one, I think, but I forget who the ref was. He described it so perfectly. So they challenged that they ruled him out of bounds. I don't know if you saw this play.
It was the touchdown from Crabtree.
Nice up and down, right? So he goes, after review, the receiver came down with possession of the ball and 2 feet in bounds because it's a Charger stadium, with blue between his heel and the sideline, with a blue stripe. He said, with a blue stripe between his heel and the sideline. And he goes, this is a touchdown. I just like the way
it was so
specific. Like I could have been listening with my eyes closed and knew exactly what he meant. So I respect that. The Raiders move to 11-3 on the year. Again, take charge of the AFC West. Again, take number 2 spot.
And they clinched a playoff berth for the first time
14 years
since 2002.
When they lost,
which was
Super Bowl.
the last time. Which was the Super Bowl that they got torched by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But real quick before we get to the Sunday night game, I talked about the Steelers, being the team to compete against New England in the playoffs. I can't. If you would have asked me a month ago, I would have been like, maybe the Raiders can be that team. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they can. I know they flat performances. I know they played really well on the road, and I know they're a really tough team. But from what I've seen for the past 2 games, they started slow. Mm-hmm. They allow big plays in that secondary. Yep. And if this team plays in a cold weather game like they did last Thursday night in week 14 against the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't think they have the team that can be able to run the ball, and I don't think that defense is good enough to compete with New England in a game that can potentially be in the snow. It can be a Tuck rule number 2.
Yeah, very.
But I'm just saying, they're a good team. They're probably going to host a playoff game, which is good for them. But if they happen to win that game, I don't know if they can win in New England. It worries me that this team plays in cold weather.
Very true. All right, now you mentioned the last time they were in the playoffs, they played the Buccaneers, in which they got smoked in the Super Bowl. The Buccaneers played last night against the Cowboys in a game that was pretty close, 26-20 in favor of the Cowboys. They moved 12-2, and again just hold tight on that first seed in the NFC playoffs. The Buccaneers, though, still in the running. So in this one, Dak Prescott 32 for 36, efficient as can be, 279, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Did have a rushing touchdown though with 4 carries for 20 yards. Ezekiel Elliott 23 carries, 159 yards, and a touchdown. Leading receiver for the team was Des Bryant with 82 yards on 8 receptions, but he was not the leading reception grabber, and that would be Jason Witten with 10. You look over at the Buccaneers, Jameis Winston, not a bad day. Mistakes though, 17 for 35, 247, 2 touchdowns, but 3 picks, and some ugly ones at that. Leading rusher for the team was Doug Martin, who had a total of 42 on 16 carries. No touchdowns to speak of. As a team, they only had 20 carries for 52 yards, so not what you want there. Their leading receiver, Cameron Brate, 5 for 73, and a score, as well as Adam Humphries with a nice what's the word I'm looking for? Really strong concentration on the touchdown. So.
Yeah.
But they lose this one.
Yeah, and Ezekiel had that career high in rushing yards with 159. And the one thing I took from this game is that maybe Tampa Bay is probably not ready for the prime time.
The offense is too sputtery.
Yeah, and I know they had good moments. They did score 17 unanswered points at one point to take a lead. Mm-hmm. But, it just shows you this team still has a ways to go to be a really good playoff contender. And I do think maybe they do have a chance to be the playoffs, but I kind of think, if the Redskins win tonight, they're going to get that spot. And if not, then I do think it'll be the Bucs that will be in the 6th spot. But I do think the team at the end to get that final wild card spot will be Green Bay.
Okay, yeah. And like you mentioned, at one point they were down 17-6, and they came back and they did take a lead at one point. So,
but Tampa Bay, they're a whole lot better team than when I knew they would be like a sleeper team. I remember that, but but I don't think they're ready for primetime.
Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, we saw them last night in primetime, and unfortunately did not go their way. All right, well, let's take our first break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk some college football bowl games that went on this weekend and some that's actually going on today, as a matter of fact. So we're going to do that, take a break, and be right back. Don't go anywhere here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, and now we're going to update you guys and recap this weekend's college football bowl games. So let's start with the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl, and that was between Southern Mississippi, the Golden Eagles, and Louisiana Lafayette, the Ragin' Cajuns.
I love that name, Ragin' Cajuns.
So in this one, Southern Mississippi, the Golden Eagles defeated the Ragin' Cajuns 28-21 in a close game. Both teams are 6-6 going into this one. Nick Mullins, the quarterback there for the Golden Eagles, 25-40, 346, and 2 touchdowns, as a matter of fact.
And then the Ragin' Cajuns couldn't get anything in the passing game. As you know,
sir.
Anthony Jennings went 8 for 20 and 95 yards and an interception. And that was a tough day.
Mm-hmm.
They did have a real good day on the ground, though.
They did.
A total of 157, led by Elijah McGuire.
But you want to look at the Golden Eagles. Their leading rusher, 138 yards on 26 carries. Ito Smith. And don't even get me started on the receiver. Alan Zay Staggers, 11 receptions for 230 yards and a touchdown. 230 yards.
230 yards. What a name, though. Alan Zay Staggers. That's an NFL name.
That's
right
a
there.
Staggering name. That's a staggering amount of letters.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most impressive performances so far in the bowl season.
Yeah.
Remember, we're just getting started here.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, we have a few more to tell you. So we go on to the Auto Nation Cure Bowl. Arkansas State Red Wolves taking on the UCF Knights, and the Red Wolves just handle this game 31-13. Justice Hansen, 12 for 26, 205, and 3 touchdowns from him. Not any kind of rushing game, seeing as their leading rusher, Darrell Rollins Davis, 5 for 32, right? Their team ended up with 38 for 29 because of 3 players, including Justice, with negative yards. Go ahead.
But you know what, though? They had more rushing yards than UCF because
they did.
Because UCF had a total of 12 yards on 30 carries, guys.
Jawan Hamilton, 10 for 14, and they ended up with 30 for 12.
Yeah, and, they couldn't get anything in the passing game, too. I'm talking about UCF. And, man, Arkansas State had a really good receiving performance from Kendall Sanders. 5 receptions, 127 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Every one of the quarterback Hansen's touchdowns.
So this is what I love about the bowl season. We
hear
get
about
to talk,
people you never heard of.
We get to talk about people that we never give any shine to.
Exactly, and that's an impressive performance. You got to talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We have the Appalachian State Mountaineers taking on the Toledo Rockets in the Raycom Media Camellia Bowl.
What a name!
I know it's a tongue turner, man. All right, the Appalachian State Mountaineers win this one in a close one, 31-28 over the Rockets. Taylor Lamb, nothing special. 119 and 1 for him in the passing game, but he did add 126 yards rushing on the ground, and he still wasn't the leading rusher in this game. Running back Marcus Cox, 22 carries, 143 yards, and a touchdown for a team total, including Jalen Moore for 35 yards, of 49 carries for 297 yards and 2 touchdowns. Were they on fire? Now, not to be outdone, quarterback Logan Woodside of the Rockets, 247 and 2. 120 yards on 22 carries from Kareem Hunt, their running back, and 2 scores. This was a shootout, man.
It was, and this is actually it was an entertaining game. I did see bits and pieces of it. And what about Appalachian State? For the first couple of years in the FBS,
they went 10-3.
They went 10-3 this year, and I think they finished with 9 wins last year. But man, they are they're making strides in FBS, and I do think this is where they belong. Even though they're in the Sun Belt Conference, it's probably one of the lower tier Group of 5 conferences, but they're making the most of their opportunities there in FBS.
When we look at Toledo, they moved to 9-4 on the year after this loss, but that's still a pretty good year for them.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the second of our last games. We're talking the Gildan New Mexico Bowl with none other than the New Mexico Lobos and the Texas San Antonio Roadrunners. So we look at the stats in passing, and the Lobos, not really their forte. 3 for 4, 77 yards from Lamar Jordan. Well, but he added 81 yards on the ground.
It's that triple option offense, man.
It is indeed. Excuse me. Richard McQuarrie, 17 for 68 and 2 for him, and Terrion Gibson, 14 for 60 and a touchdown for him. A team rushing number of 52 rushes for 219 and 3. Again, I repeat myself, not to be outdone. The Roadrunners, by the leading rusher Jarvion Williams, 125 for him on the day. A team total of 246 on 38 carries. A little bit better of a passing day for Texas San Antonio, Dalton Sturm, 10 for 26, 118 and 2 for him. But not enough to unseat New Mexico in their very own bowl game.
Yeah, and the thing I took away from this game before we move on to our final game here, I saw a tweet with the, Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner, because, the Lobos and Roadrunners, and then there's a sign that had Wile E. Coyote falling off the cliff. You know how he always has those signs when he falls off the cliff?
Yes.
The sign said, Roadrunners finally lost. So,
oh, man.
Yeah, so I kind of like the reference that they had there, but I think it could have been done a little bit more better.
A little tasteful.
But, before we move on, I know we got to move on a little bit quick here, but that was actually New Mexico's first bowl win since 2007. I think that was head coach Bob Davie, his first bowl win ever. Because remember, he went 0-4, back to his days in Notre Dame and, last year with New Mexico. So, good job to New Mexico. They're making strides there and the Mountain West.
Very true. All right, and the last of the significant bowl games, and probably my favorite from this weekend, we had the Las Vegas Bowl presented by Geico. San Diego State and Houston, probably one of the best matchups of the weekend.
Most underrated bowl matchup probably of the season.
Yes, sir. San Diego State, the Aztecs defeat the Cougars 34-10 in the game that was really not that close. Christian Chapman, 10 for 14, 128 and 1 from him. Donnell Pumphrey, who was in some people's eyes a candidate for a Heisman consideration, set the single-season NCAA rushing record with his 115 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. In this one, you look at Houston, man, they had a lot of promise this year in a lot of different times of the year, but they end their year with Greg Ward Jr. going 28 for 34, 229 yards, and 4 interceptions, and a rushing total of 41 carries for 25 yards and a touchdown. Greg Ward Jr., 22 carries, 1 touchdown,
no
0 yards.
Wow, and tough day for Houston as well. They got out to a really hot start, and the San Diego State. San Diego State has been one of the best defenses in the nation. A lot of people don't talk about them because they're on the West Coast. A lot of their games start late. They're one of the best teams, getting turnovers. One of the best teams, defending against the run. Yeah, I think San Diego State is going to be one of those teams that a lot of people find out next year. We know about San Diego State because we're here on the West Coast, a little bit in the Mountain West. But, I love what I saw from San Diego State. But it's a shame that maybe Houston's not as good as we thought they were going to be.
Unfortunately, I think definitely not. So.
Yeah, and Donnell Pumphrey, though, what a year that he's had.
Mm-hmm. Definitely thought he deserved a little consideration.
Yeah, and it's very interesting to see how he's going to play on Sundays as well.
Very so. All right, and then like we said, we had a game today. We will have a game today, and that's the Miami Beach Bowl between this is another one I love, the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes and the Central Michigan Chippewas.
Chippewas. Man, I love these college mascots,
man.
I
love it. Now we look at Tulsa, winners of 4 of the last 5 and 9-3 on the year, going to face a Central Michigan team that barely made bowl eligibility at 6-6 and have lost 4 of the last 5. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to Tulsa. Yeah,
I'm going to give it to Tulsa as well. I want to get low-key. I kind of want to get the Central Michigan because of their name, but I don't want to be that guy. But yeah, Tulsa, they've been really good. They're just a better team.
Yeah, so I'm giving it to them, and of course we'll talk about it tomorrow when it happens. One last thing we want to mention is there's 2 notable players, and one today that has come out and for sure has said that he will be sitting out their bowl game. Stanford running back Christian McCaffrey will sit out the Hyundai Sun Bowl to focus on his NFL draft preparation. He announced today on his Twitter. It seems like everybody does that, or on Instagram now. McCaffrey said it's a very tough decision, but he has decided to not play in the Sun Bowl so he can begin his draft prep immediately. Thanks to all his teammates for their 100% support. It means a lot to me. Go Cardinal. Now, he has announced, of course, he is entering the draft this year. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what he gets utilized as, whether it's a slot receiver, running back,
I think the perfect team for McCaffrey is the New England Patriots.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers. They can use them as a backup there.
Yeah, it depends.
Maybe. Yeah, but I do think the perfect team to utilize them correctly is the New England Patriots.
Yes, sir. You got that right. Now, this is not the first notable name to be sitting out of the bowl game. LSU's running back Leonard Fournette is going to be sitting out of the Buffalo Wild Wings Citrus Bowl on New Year's Eve against Louisville. So now with him, he's been a little injured. It makes a little more sense. Ben was not a fan of this when we talked about the sports show.
I'm not surprised that he's not a fan of that.
What do you think McCaffrey's sitting out of this bowl game?
I'm actually was surprised by McCaffrey because he had a really down year compared to last year as the runner-up for the Heisman, and I get why he's doing it. He wants to he wants to get out in the draft. He wants to start the draft process clean and not injured. So I get that part. I'm actually surprised that he's not going to play. I kind of feel like he kind of could have solidified his Stanford career with a really good performance. But when you're foregoing, if he was a senior, I can see him doing this, but he's not. And when you're not going to come back and you got your sights set on the NFL, I can see why you're doing this. You got such a long process ahead of you. There's no surprise there. I'm not surprised by Leonard Fournette not playing in his bowl game. He's been hurt.
Yep.
I actually am a fan of that. He has a chance to be maybe a mid to late first round pick.
Yeah, we'll see. He can be one of those guys that can go from 1 to 3.
Yeah, he's just one of the most talented running backs we've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe since Adrian Peterson. But the big knock on him is can he stay healthy? And he has a big body. That he's a bruiser. I do think he's a prototypical NFL running back, but can he stay healthy? That remains to be seen. And we can say the same with McCaffrey as well. Can he stay healthy? Well, it's a really good running back class that we're about to enter.
Yeah, it definitely is a deep one. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, of course.
And you can't forget about Donnell Pumphrey as well.
No, you can't. All right, well, let's take our last break of the day. We're going to come back and just real quick preview tonight's Monday Night Football game. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. And to end the show, we are going to talk about tonight's Monday Night Football game in the NFL Week 15, of course. And that is between the Carolina Panthers and the Washington Redskins. Jeremiah, why is this game significant to you?
This is the Josh Norman Bowl, guys. And, of course, in case you guys been living under a rock the past year, the Carolina Panthers was the team that Josh Norman played for last year. He is a big, he was a huge part of the Carolina Panthers defense last year, especially in the Super Bowl run. He was probably one of the best defensive players of the year. Last season. Mm-hmm. But now, ever since then, a lot of things have changed. The Panthers released Josh Norman.
Yes,
the Redskins signed him. He's been a really good part of this defense, but, he's not having as big of a year that the Redskins have hoped he had.
Mm-hmm.
But, he still is a talent on that field. So it's going to be interesting to see how Josh Norman is going to defend Calvin Benjamin and all the and Tegan as well.
Yes, sir. Now, who do you have winning this game?
I'm going to go with the Washington Redskins. I do think they have a chance, to take a hold of that last wild card spot. And I do think that's the reason why that's the only thing they have going for them tonight is, they have a chance to get a wild card spot, get sole possession of it. They're at home, so everything is lined up for them. So I do think for that reason alone, I got the Redskins winning. And the thing is, can Washington be a mature team and take care of business at home? If this game was on the road, I would have said maybe a little more difficult. Maybe Panthers could play spoiler, but, Panthers are not – they're not as good as they were.
Not
but
at all, yeah.
I do think Redskins, I think they have probably one of the most underrated offense in the league. Like, no one talks about the Redskins offense. They have a lot of talent on that team. I do think they can potentially be a top 5. Maybe they can because, Kirk Cousins, he's been probably one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks in the past couple seasons. And, he's had 4,000 yards this year, 22 touchdowns. They can't run the ball as good, but
I agree with you on that. I'm going to give it to the Redskins. I do know, though, that I'm in the fight for the championship spot in one of my leagues. I already made one of them. Looking like 2 or 3 because he's done. I got Greg Olsen left, and I'm losing by about 6 points. So as long as he does well, I don't really care who wins. I'm going to probably pick the Redskins. And then, of course, we'll talk about tomorrow.
Yes, we will. We will.
This happens. But until then, we are done with the day. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow. Jeremiah and I discuss tonight's Monday Night Football game and everything and anything in between the world of football. Of course, maybe college game.
Maybe recap the Miami Beach Bowl. I have to say it like that.
You got to say it like that. I got you.
Miami Beach Bowl.
That's fine with me. All right. Well, that means we'll be back tomorrow. So until then, we'd like to thank you so much for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. As always, for Anthony, I'm Alex.
And as always, I'm Jeremiah.
And we'll see you guys tomorrow. You enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your football tonight, you guys, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.